when it comes to whether or not this was the more impressive win, what I'll say is I think beating the reigning national champions on the first night of the college basketball season is always going to be something that opens up people's eyes, especially when you got a dude like Koa Pete doing what he did. I think that this win will have more legs. I think when we look up in March on Selection Sunday and we're talking about who should be a 1 seed or a 2 seed, we're going to be talking a lot more about the fact that Arizona has a win over UCLA in Los Angeles than we are about Arizona beating Florida in Las Vegas on the first night of the season. I think this UCLA team is legit. Like, nothing that I saw in this game tonight makes me believe that this is a team that won't be right there in the mix for like the second or third spot in the Big Ten this season. Donovan Dent is not going to be 5 for 16 from the floor on every single night, right? And I think that getting what they got out of Xavier Booker tonight and seeing what that combination of Booker and Bilodeau and Eric Daly Jr. can do and how they can kind of fit together. You know, we've been having conversations so far this season about Michigan going with that 3 big lineup and playing Yaxel at the 3 with Morris Johnson and Adai Mara and how it's not working. Well, UCLA is kind of using a 3 big lineup here with Tyler Bilodeau, Xavier Booker, and Eric Daly. But like it's working because all 3 of those guys can make shots from the perimeter, and all 3 of those guys have a little bit of game when it comes to facing people up. Like, you know, Morris Johnson is basically, if he's not 3 feet from the rim, what is he doing? He's completely ineffective. And all 3 of those guys that UCLA has are bucket getters that can score and are real threats away from the basket.
Go ahead, Dal.
Yeah, I would say that the one thing that Dent's not going to be as bad as he was in the first half. That's not going to be a common thing. I think UCLA is a good team, and he's an outstanding lead guard. And you saw how the effect he could have on the game in the second half. Now, the first half was a problem. That said, he was taking what the defense gave him. At times, they were putting 2 on the ball, and they were hitting Booker in that short roll. He made a couple shots out of it, and I do think at times he made some decisions that weren't that great. And I think that when you continue to adjust and work in that space and understand what to do there and where the weaknesses are going to be, and if teams help off anybody, how to make the plays, that he'll grow into that in that spot a little bit more and continue to play better. But I think that when you look at Dent with the ball in his hands, Bilodeau, Daily saw flashes. These guys are veteran guys, and their team is still going to be built in the defensive end. I think they're going to be right there, like you said. I think they'd probably be more in that 4 or 5 range of the Big Ten, but we'll see. And partially the reason I say that is the travel's hard. I know. I mean, that's just is what it is.
We heard that last year.
It's not an easy situation. We did, and Mick complained about seeing the Statue of Liberty multiple times. I get it, but
That's
there are
right.
coaches. There are other coaches like Kyle Smith at Stanford's like, I never want to travel question again, Cuff. I'm done with this crap. All right, we're done. We're done talking about it. I ain't worried about it. I don't think Mick's going to go that way. I feel like this will be brought up quite a bit, and it's hard. I get it. So I would say they may be more in that 4 or 5 range, but overall, it's a quality team. They're an NCAA tournament team that felt like an NCAA tournament game, one of the best lead guards in the business. And I think as when you can't run one coverage at him because he's going to carve you up, that helps you in his ability to read it and figure it out and then understand where the next play needs to be made is big. It's when that next guy is making on the same page and making the next correct play as well, or making the shot, then we're in a different spot.
Mick Cronin's, is not a coach that's going to come out and say, like, this is the best team that I've had at UCLA. But I think the evidence is getting there. Like, Bruins, obviously, like we mentioned, return a solid core, added in the All-American and Donovan Dent, and mixed in some size, which you guys have already touched upon. It frees up Eric Daly Jr. and Bilodeau to play what I kind of think is more maybe their natural positions. This was a smaller team last year, and it showed in a physical Big Ten. I know the road thing adds up too, especially later on down the season. But when you go up against teams like Michigan or Purdue, this year's team, it seems like it has more size, so they can protect the rim and rebound a little bit better. And I think we saw that kind of come out against an Arizona team that, while they may not be styled like a Big Ten team, they do have some traits that I think you can draw similarities to in that conference, right?
Yeah, and this is, to me, this is like the quintessential Mark Few / Tommy Lloyd kind of a roster build, where you got a ball screen point guard and you got a big guy in the paint that you can run pick and rolls with and is going to roll hard to the rim. You can kind of run offense through when you get it to him down to the block. And you got a 4-man that can play high-low with that big guy, and then you put a couple shooters around him. Like, that is what the ideal Mark Few team was when they had their best teams at Gonzaga, and obviously Tommy Lloyd spent 20 years as an assistant for Mark Few. So I really do believe, and this might be a hot take, and you guys can tell me if I'm crazy, but I really do believe that this Arizona team is good enough to make a Final Four and potentially win a national championship this year when Jaden Bradley is playing like this Jaden Bradley. When we